Holy moly, keep that phone.
Court is now in session with Ryan and Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
Adam says it best. They're here. We're on YouTube. Any YouTube problems today? I think we are good for now. We're working around the bug, but happy to have you here. The King's Court, Ryan in Sacktown with you, brought to you by Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. Bane, you can't hear anything. That means he can hear everything. Good stuff, Bane. Yeah, you know what, Bane?
Bingo. Bingo.
No, not bingo. Actually, Bane.
That don't make no sense.
Doesn't make any sense, but all good. What's up, Flores? Welcome in. Sorry about the issue yesterday with YouTube. We're getting that fixed. Grant will be on today at 4 o'clock, getting you ready for Thursday night football. Which way you going tonight? You going Dolphins? Are you going Bills? We talked about it a little bit last night on Grant and Ryan. Really fun show. If you haven't had a chance, go check that out. Not during our shows today. Check it out later. And I know you got football tonight as well. You can always download the audio on Spotify, Apple, and as always, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But again, we're brought to you by Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com to learn more about all of their locations, specials, and more. So you remember yesterday, we've got a full show, by the way, for you. I want to get you in on the action. You can call the show, QR code at the top of the screen. Also, if you'd like to call, you can hit the pinned link in the chat. Can get you in that way as well. We're talking DeMar DeRozan's new book, Above the Noise. I think it's a really, really great book. I'm about halfway through it. It was released yesterday, and it addresses one of those things that's taboo. And in the last few years, my generation, this generation of athletes, they've been a little bit more open about talking about an ailment. There's injury reports, right? You got to report your physical injuries, but what about what's going on upstairs? We're all dealing with something, and it used to be really, I'm going to say it straight out, taboo sometimes in sports. You're an athlete. Just dribble the ball. You're getting paid millions of dollars. Well, sometimes we forget they're people too. And let's take athletes out of the conversation altogether. We're people. People deal with things. And so DeMar outlines his struggles with depression. We're going to talk about it more in a second. Also, going to talk some Sacramento Kings basketball. Got that for you. Bad news for Deshaun Watson. Can get to that as well. A lot previewing Thursday night football. Hey, did you see the Pac-12 trying to make a little bit of a comeback? It affects me. It affects my brother. Does it affect you? We'll find out. So we've got all that and more, but I want to start here. So we try to have a little bit of fun here on the King's Court, right? Sometimes we'll have a question of the day. Sometimes we will talk about whatever comes up. We'll have some fun, especially on Fridays, right? Fridays are more of an open forum. We usually do our wrestling segment, which is actually on a bye week. You're going to get all me tomorrow when it comes to wrestling. But today, I started the show yesterday with this. I was riding with my car, or in the car with my son yesterday, and he hit me with one of those comments that my grandma used to hit me with. And it just struck me, because I'm a 40-year-old parent. I get it. I try not to be my parents. I think some of these commercials got Dr. Rick up there especially hilarious. I think the one in the elevator is just gold. But he hits me with, "Hey, I'm going to give you a knuckle sandwich." And I'm like, "What?" These kids these days aren't talking about knuckle sandwiches. And so I started to think, what are the most parenting statements, like most parenty, not even a word. I'm making it a word. You say it with confidence, it turns into a word. The most parenty kind of cliches that your parents use, that you might use as a parent. Let's put together a list. I'm going to start you out. I started you out yesterday with mine. I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed. So put yours in the chat. I've got a couple of more as well. We'll keep that going throughout the show if you want to hit that. And Alex, my man, the Hair and Beard podcast, I need your help, dude. When you start from scratch on a beard, sometimes it's a little bit awkward. What should I do, Alex? I'm bringing you in early on the conversation if you're out there. I'll give you something to cry about. Adam kicking off. Adam, I don't know if that cracks the top 10. It's a little passive aggressive. Mark, there you go. Wait until your father gets home. Absolutely. Now, I'm going to give you one that I think is absolutely in the top 5. In fact, it might be number 2 because I'm going to leave number 1 open. Number 2. You can do it now or you can do it in 10 minutes. I think that one was always strong in my household. Mom, if you're listening, she's probably laughing somewhere. That is her trademark. Flores hopping in on the action. Put this on you or you'll get sick. I've never heard that one, Flores. My parents never threatened me with illness. So, all right. Let's try to come up with the top 5. We'll monitor those as we go in the chat. But our top story today, what I want to get to, and DeMar is making the rounds right now with his new book, Above the Noise, detailing, and I'm paraphrasing here, his journey, finding his calmness. And he talks about, in the book, his struggles with depression and ultimately how it came to a head. Many people remember, and if you don't, and let me reset, let me take 2 steps back in case you're just tuning in to the King's Court for the first time this year. DeMar DeRozan is now a King. I think we can all agree on that. We should know that by now. We are so excited to have him in this city. But when DeMar, and we talked about this at length with his opening press conference, he was so genuine. He was so happy to be in Sacramento. He came off as grateful. It didn't seem like just a paycheck. And that to me was really strong. That really resonated with me because this is a young basketball team here in Sacramento. You have some young veterans, but it is a young team. And a DeMar DeRozan, and I know Harrison Barnes was the consummate professional, but let's be honest. Harrison Barnes, whatever was going on in the locker room, not by any means the fault of Harrison Barnes. But I think after the last 2 seasons, it's not a bad thing to shake it up, bring a new face in. And could you replace a Harrison with another professional that's any better than DeMar DeRozan? So taking a step back, DeMar DeRozan in 2018 released a tweet. It was at 3:06 in the morning, 3:06 in the morning, to quote DeMar from his X account, "This depression get the best of me, ... And if you read the book, DeMar was actually that night supposed to be, he was at home. He's from Los Angeles. He was supposed to be attending Kenny the Jet Smith's All-Star party. Did not attend. And leading to coming home, he had been on the road away from his kids, away from his family. And he texted or tweeted that out that night. And he woke up to a weird reaction, not from his gut, not from anybody around him, but from the world. Remember, depression affects estimated at 280 million people across this planet. 280 million. DeMar felt the hug of the community, of the sports world, of others struggling with depression or other mental illnesses or any personal issues. Again, we're all people. We all deal with things. So DeMar was asked about what was his mindset? What was he thinking when that tweet was put out at 3:08 in the morning? Here's what he had to say.
I wanted the challenge. I feel like when you take on a challenge, it brings the best out.
Oops, wrong drop, y'all. I'm sorry. Got those shuffled up. Looks like my drops changed. There we go. Here we go. This is what DeMar had to say about this is so bad. Come on, where is it at? Stephen A. Smith. It is gone. Where did it go? Okay. Well, I'm going to continue on. DeMar, here we go. My bad. Sorry about that. Here we go.
Then, I was extremely lost and not knowing why, because everything was going so great for me career-wise at the height of my career, All-Stars, winning. Everything was going perfect, from a career standpoint, but not knowing emotionally and mentally where I was at. And I think that night, tweeting that tweet was me just hitting the wall, and everything since then been me kind of trying to build myself back up, from the human standpoint.
Pretty important, pretty powerful, right? Really powerful from a human standpoint. Hitting a wall. I think we can all relate to that. Hitting a wall, whether it's on a daily basis, whether it's on a weekly basis, whether it's on an hourly basis, minute by minute basis, second by second basis. Everybody is different. And so DeMar really, and I'm not going to say he inspired the group, but this was at a time that a lot of different athletes were beginning to come out, most notably Kevin Love. Kevin Love came out and talked about his battles, and it was there was a mixed bag of reaction, as I remember it at first, not necessarily around the media, but certainly around sports fans and social media. Well, why can't you figure it out? Are you kidding me? And Kevin Love, somebody that had dealt with injuries a lot throughout his career. But since DeMar, you have guys like Dak Prescott coming out, talking about their struggles. BJ hopping in on the conversation. Depression and anxiety is a life stopper sometimes. Overthinking hurts the heart and the mind. Followed up with, I totally commiserate with where he's coming from. Trauma is a mother effer if it is not addressed. Absolutely. And what does addressed look like? It's different for everybody, right? And so as you read on and you learn more about DeMar's story, again, DeMar's book yesterday just came out, Above the Noise, My Story of Chasing Calm. You can go find that online. You can get it on hard, or you can get physical copy. I know that is different these days. Do we buy books? Yes, I still like to buy books. But yes, it's different for everyone. And so DeMar was also talking this morning with Michael Strahan a little bit more about the embrace and going through the process of dealing with what he was dealing with depression.
It's a beautiful thing, I never look at it like, I was the cause of it, anything. It's a beautiful thing because for me, I look at all those guys' story and find so much inspiration within it because it shows the power of strength that we could give one another because we all going through something. And just breaking that stigma of showing that it's okay to be vulnerable and show empathy to one another goes a long way.
Doesn't it? It goes a really long ways. Stigma. That's a word that it's. How do you define stigma? I know the definition of it, but how do you really define stigma? And in the book, DeMar talks about after he had shared his struggles and began addressing them, he talks about how people started coming up to him and stopping him. Most notably, he was in Denver, coming off the court after warming up, heading back to the locker room. And a fan pulled him aside and talked about how his story helped somebody in their family get over their struggles. And their struggles were not necessarily the same as DeMar's, but taking a step forward, being brave enough and courageous enough to put yourself out there. Yes, in this social media world, it's sometimes a little bit ugly. Social media is the best and the worst thing in the world. It really is. But DeMar continued to see that embrace. And in fact, DeMar talked about his journey a little bit more after, and how it's a continuing journey, how he's maintaining. This is not something that's done with because you say, I have a problem. It's something that you have to keep, like your vehicle, like your health care. I don't know if you have to take a medication on a daily basis, if you have to do certain exercises on a daily basis, if you have to eat a certain diet on a daily basis. Maintenance is involved. These aren't things that you just tackle one time and you get past. Here's DeMar again.
Inspiration, hope, confidence, and, vulnerability. Expressing vulnerability, you can find strength in that. I really hope a lot of people take that from my book. And, my book is still, going, so much in life that I'm still going through, a lot of mistakes that I will make. I got to figure out, I got to get better from, and even from writing a book, it's been a lot of stuff that I've been through, that I've been trying to be a better man, better father, be a better, leader, everything, every step of the way, just understanding that this whole thing is a journey.
Indeed it is. How about that? His book is not finished. Think about that. It's a pretty damn cool and strong statement. It's an inspirational statement right there. So DeMar, to write this book, and again, I'm only halfway through it, and I understand DeMar, although he is on a bigger platform than most of us, than some of us, to take that step forward, to be an advocate for mental health when you are a public figure. Doesn't necessarily even have to be mental health. We talked at length yesterday about the Tyreek Hill situation, right? And we talked about divides in communities and how can you make things better. Grant shared a story about DeMarcus Cousins after a shooting in Grant believed it was Alabama. I believe it was Alabama. Yes. And how DeMarcus brought the community together and tried to, and Grant actually, and I'll let you go back and watch the show. I don't want to speak for Grant. You can check out Grant and Ryan last night, but Grant was guest hosting the Jim Rome show, and he brought that up. He gave DeMarcus credit for doing that on a huge, massive platform. So I, again, halfway through the book so far, but I highly recommend that you go get a copy of this. And in fact, even if DeMar DeRozan was not a King, I would highly recommend that you get a copy of this. In fact, I would highly recommend that you just share the conversation, that you bring it up, because you don't know if somebody in your household, you don't know if the person next to you right now, somebody in your office, a complete stranger, again, you don't know what everybody is dealing with. And who knows? Maybe they seek this book out. Maybe they're not a sports fan, but this book somehow can help them. And again, if you are a basketball fan and you want to learn more about DeMar's upbringing in Los Angeles, some of the challenges, again, that he's gone through, I would definitely recommend that. DeMar, one more time on the book.
It's a beautiful thing, and I never look at it like, I was the cause of it, anything. It's a beautiful thing because for me, I look at all those guys' story and find so much inspiration.
That's all I wanted to play for you. I look at all those guys' stories and I find so much inspiration. Maybe somebody can find some inspiration from this. So again, go check it out. DeMar DeRozan, Above the Noise. Just released yesterday, my story of chasing calm. Pretty damn cool. Good stuff. And by the way, in the midst of all this, of course, in the midst of this, DeMar is on a book tour right now, doing shows in New York. Of course, one media personality, a rather big personality, had to get their shot in at your team.
The Kings ain't dumb. They know they need somebody, Mr. Mid-Range himself. They just were smart. As far as I'm concerned, they got over because you deserve more than the money that you got paid. You gave them a gift. You deserve more than that.
DeMar gave the Kings a gift? Interesting, Stephen A. Smith. Very, very interesting, my friend. It's Stephen A. Smith for you. It's always bringing the Kings down. Not enough. The Kings, small market, right? You gave him a gift. You should have been paid more. Maybe you should have been paid more. I don't know. DeMar spoke about the challenges and wanting the challenge of joining the Western Conference. In fact, I'll play that for you right now.
I wanted the challenge. I feel like when you take on a challenge, it brings the best out of you every single night. You know, me looking at the Western Conference, playing in the Western Conference before, it brings the best out of you. You know, and I kind of wanted that challenge. Like you said, I look forward to playing every single night, but I also want that challenge every single night and being able to play with a guy like De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis with the year that they had before, you know, even last year before injuries, and, you know, they was a top team in the conference. You know, I just felt like I could be that piece that could definitely take them over the top. And the way they even approached me, they had the utmost belief in me that made it feel even, you know, more than possible.
Pretty cool stuff. And that's kind of what I started with about DeMar's press conference here in Sacramento. We heard the backstory as reported that Fox was involved in helping get DeMar here, especially that day that DeMar broke that he was going to be signing off on the trade for the Kings. But the fact that he sees the potential in this team, and as I said at the start of the show, a little bit of a mix-up, right? The Kings last year, we know their deficits, and a lot of it came from basketball IQ. DeMar is a smart basketball player, perennial all-star. In fact, if you looked at out of the pool of free agents that were feasible for the Kings in this offseason, and you said, what fits their needs the most? If we're looking at this from an offensive perspective, DeMar is right up there. You can't argue that he's not, because there was a huge hole in the mid-range, despite the Kings shooting a very high percentage last year from the mid-range. Yet they ended up in the latter third of the league in 2-point attempts, and partially because the Kings were playing from behind too much. But also, there was a lot of threes. There was a lot of mix-ups. And the Kings, because of that, did not get to the free throw line as much. And that's something that DeMar DeRozan does very well. Going to continue the discussion on the Kings here in a second. BJ hopping in on DeMar's book, Prayer. Having a group like that one, good sleeping consistently and working out, has helped me with clearing my mind. Love this community and its topics. It's healthy. Glad we can be healthy for you, BJ. And, you know, I want to be fair and balanced, because as healthy as this community can be, it can also be very unhealthy, Adam.
That don't make no sense.
Yes, we are aware of the Shannon Sharpe video, the Shannon Sharpe post, the Instagram live, which, by the way, I'm not going into this. He did come out last night and say his account was not hacked. He said that his phone was on the bed and somehow live got hit. Now, I have not sought out the video, nor do I want to. I hope that's where the story stops. Will they fire him? I have no idea. Everything I've read about it said, and again, take this with a grain of salt. Anytime you go live with an adult act on your social media, and actually, Chili Dog, it's not a bad question. Paul Pierce, remember when he went to Instagram Live? That was a problem. That was a huge problem. So I don't know if he's going to lose his job from this. I think it's a little bit early in the process. If you listen to Shannon, he did say that he reached out to the appropriate parties immediately once he realized what had happened. I commend him for walking it back. And I'm not going to be one of those conspiracy theorists that say, oh, well, he had to walk it back. I'm not going to do that. Maybe he did not know, as he claims, that you could go live on Instagram. So I'm sure that would be a shock to any of you if you picked up your phone and you see it going off, like literally going off, talking about the things that were going on. I would immediately probably jump to that. But anyways, will he be fired? We'll see. That will play out. But I do appreciate him at least coming forward and saying, yeah, that was us. And quite frankly, I don't think there's any way you could probably say it wasn't him based off of what I'm reading. It's pretty clear his voice is in the video. So we will see. Chili Dog, getting back to the Kings. Let's get back on track. DeMar and Monk get paid less and want to win. Okay. You don't think the other guys want to win? De'Aaron Fox has a fire lit in his belly. At least this offseason publicly, he has been more vocal than usually. And let me say this for De'Aaron Fox. This is his year. De'Aaron Fox is betting on himself. And I do not blame him one bit for betting on himself with the contract situation, trying to go after an all NBA, which could qualify him for a supermax. But it's more than that. The franchise is going to have a decision to make on De'Aaron Fox too. Remember, De'Aaron's contract is going to be up not at the end of this season, but the end of next season. So it is a big year for him. And you know what? This team, and we're going to talk about it more here in a second, I'm really liking the way this is shaping up. And one of the reasons that I'm really liking the way it's shaping up is because the Kings did not sacrifice one of the core beliefs, the core pillars of a Monte McNair front office, which is fluidity, the ability to make a change pretty much at any time if you need to. Now, we could be having a much different conversation today, a couple of weeks away from media day, training camp, all that, start of the season, October 24th. It could be a very different situation if he had Zach LaVine on the roster. Now, I'm not saying Zach wouldn't possibly pan out, but that's a contract, as you can see, that has been nearly, and to this point, has been impossible to move. So in that situation, if the Kings had him, you are locked in unless he goes and he plays and he balls out. Monte McNair, this front office, can still make some moves if they need to. And you know this owner, he wants to win now. Grant has not been shy about talking about Vivek. And look, this is probably, as funny as it sounds, coming off of the season the Kings had last year, this is probably the strongest foundation this team has had in the last 16, 17, 18 years. You get a contract extension for Mike Brown with time still left on his contract. You get Malik Monk to come back. Hell, we talked how much leading up to free agency about the anxiety. Will or will not Malik Monk come back to Sacramento? And many people, I bet, would say just getting Malik back was a huge relief. That would have been a small win in itself had the Kings done nothing else. So we will continue the talk on the Kings. James, what's up, man? Sup? Sup? Is that what the kids say these days, James? Sup? Getting some betting advice. Corn Dog, you got the Dolphins tonight, -2.5. I don't know. I have not seen Corn Dog yet in here. If you guys want to get in on the show, would love to have you. You can call using the QR link. Also, the link is in the chat pinned to the top if you would like to hit that and call the show as well. Mark, when you go live, you have to push the live button, then push the record button. So he knew he was live. Well, I'm not Shannon Sharp. I'm not inside his head, Mark. So I don't know whether he knew he was live or not. But I guess I would ask this. What does Shannon Sharp have to gain from I see one of the comments in here, publicity or any publicity is good publicity. Not this publicity, unless you're planning an extreme change of careers. So I don't know why you would want to go live in that situation. Chili Dog, Stephen A. Smith wanted DeMar to get more. Chili Dog, we talked about him, my man. In fact, got it right here for you. For those that missed it, DeMar DeRozan gave the Kings a gift, according to Stephen A. Smith.
The Kings ain't dumb. They know they need somebody, Mr. Mid-Range himself. They just were smart. As far as I'm concerned, they got over because you deserve more than the money that you got paid. You gave them a gift. You deserve more than that.
Yeah, so that's Stephen A. doing Stephen A. things. Hey, you guys want to jump to that conclusion? You can. I am just not ready to do so. So back to the Kings conversation. Let's talk about it. October 24th, Kings kick off the season with Timberwolves. We've pretty much beat that into the ground. Y'all should know we are 42 or 41. We are just over 40 days away from the start of the season for the Kings, the official start of game one for the Kings. A couple of notable things. We talked a little bit, or we've talked at length about the schedule. I mean, you got the ticker down low detailing some of the things that stick out to me in the schedule. But when you look at the Western Conference, specifically the Pacific Division, it's really interesting because of the top 5 hardest schedules in the NBA, the Kings and the Lakers are the only teams in the Pacific Division that are not in the top 5 most difficult schedules in all of the NBA. So there's a positive for the Kings, certainly. And then back to DeMar, this brings up an interesting point for a couple of players. What is this team going to look like offensively? We talked yesterday about Kevin Huerter. He's going to be reevaluated in October. Now, he is cleared for some shooting. He's cleared for some on-court activities, no contact, no 5-on-5. He's not cleared to practice full. He's not cleared to be a full go in training camp. So how did that affect the Kings offseason? Did it affect the Kings offseason? Kevin Huerter, there were teams interested, and I would be interested in Kevin as well. And we went over some of this yesterday. But Keegan Murray, that's another important piece here that a lot of people are zooming in a little bit on. One, because of his defense. I've said for almost 6 months now, Keegan Murray is to the defense what De'Aaron Fox is to the Kings offense. To me, Keegan Murray is the defensive leader for this team. He gets a lot of nights the most difficult matchups. He's taken charges. He's nearly always in the right place, and his offense does not dictate his defense. Whether or not he's getting shots, whether or not those shots are going down, he is most nights playing the same defense. And we've talked about the growth offensively of Keegan Murray. And Keegan last year, remember his rookie year, led the NBA for rookies. In fact, set the rookie record for three-pointers. So, and let's be fair, Keegan got a lot, and I mean a lot, of spot-up looks. He got a lot of shots that most pros should make. Not taking anything away from Keegan. Keegan had an amazing rookie year shooting the ball offensively. But year 2, Mike Brown really challenged him to become more of a creator. He wanted to see him grow offensively. And we saw that in phases. Keegan certainly got more aggressive at the rim. I wouldn't say it was on a nightly basis, but you did see him grow at the rim. And, you know, him and Malik rating dunks. I always thought that was pretty fun during the season to keep track of. But you know, there's still some area for growth there. Very much so. And Keegan's going in to his 3rd season, which is a very, very important season. That was the season Peja really, really jumped up. And speaking of Peja, inducted into the FIBA 2024 Hall of Fame, went in with most notably Reggie Miller. We've talked about that earlier in the week here on If You Don't Like That. But getting back to Keegan, some wonder if DeMar DeRozan could stunt. And I hate saying that word. I'm only saying that word because I've heard that word so much in the national media. I've heard it locally. Can it stunt the growth of Keegan Murray? And I think that it's completely ridiculous Don't players play to their strengths? Isn't that what team sports are about? Knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, getting to your spots. That's why basketball players have spots, right? One of the big concerns last year for the Kings was the lack of creators. Your creators, and I'm going to take Malik Monk out of the situation because he was not playing down the stretch. So when the Kings were playing their most important basketball, and credit to Davion Mitchell, he really stepped up in that area. You had De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. Those were your creators. And even with a healthy Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox, and Domantas Sabonis, that is not enough creators. You need to have a balanced approach. Now, conversely, Kings had a lot of finishers. And that's why in Kevin Huerter's first season here in Sacramento, you saw him flourish, especially right out of the gate, because teams did not know how to guard that DHO. They didn't. The Kings were killing teams on a nightly basis. Either Domas would make a great pass, usually not taking that jump shot, which we'll get to in a second. He'd either make the right play or he'd hand off to Kevin Huerter, or you've got completely different action on the other side of the court. You've got De'Aaron that can change pace, go on one when Malik's in the game. You've now got pick and roll in play, right? Well, now with Kevin Huerter and DeMar DeRozan coming back, or DeMar coming to the roster, Kevin coming back to the team, I don't see any way that Kevin is not going to get better opportunities this season when he is on the floor shooting the ball. Having DeMar DeRozan on this team, one of the most underrated parts of DeMar's game is his passing. DeMar's passing is incredible, and we know his mid-range game. We've talked about it at length. Plus, he gets to the free throw line, which, again, free throws last year, Kings down in attempts over 16%, made free throws down, attempts down over 16%, made free throws down over 21%. DeMar's going to help that, right? DeMar has to help that. And then also, you get to the free throw line, that means you're getting to set your defense. You're getting a little bit of a break, something the Kings did not get a lot of last year because the attempts were down so much. It was a lot of transition defense where the Kings, until Keon Ellis stepped into the lineup, were not very good. Now, you can make an argument that changed the second half of the season, and the stats bear the fruits of that argument. But anyways, getting back to the looks that these guys are going to get in DeMar's passing, you now have three guys theoretically on the court that you can run the offense through. At times, you may have DeMar DeRozan getting doubled. And again, DeMar, very good passer in my opinion, usually makes the right play more times than not, knows how to play with other guys. That is going to open up your Kevin Huerters for spot shots. Exactly what is in his wheelhouse. Now, the onus is on Kevin to knock down the shots. Kevin has got to be able to knock down the three-point shot. That's where he lives. And credit to Kevin, sometimes when he's not going offensively with his jump shot, he will try to get himself going towards the hoop. He will try to get to the free throw line. And Keegan Murray, who we started this conversation with, I think this helps Keegan in the sense that he is going to likely, if DeMar and the Kings mesh as many hope that they will, Keegan's going to get a lot more looks like he got in his rookie year. So does that hurt his growth? I don't think so. You're not going to have guys targeting in, keying in on Keegan Murray, and not that they were, especially last year, but think about the game plan for defending the Kings. It's really not difficult. Try to keep Fox in front of you and hang off a Domas. That was really the game plan for most games. And that's why this summer, a lot of talk about Domas's jump shot. I don't think Domas needs to take a ton of jump shots. That does not need to change. Now, what, in my opinion, needs to change is his ability to confidently step into a jump shot and keep the defense honest. When you keep the defense honest, that changes how they have to guard you. So, And to your point, Chili Dog, we're going to get to this in a second because I was going to go to De'Aaron next. BJ says, looking forward to half court sets. Yeah, this team, and that's going to be really different because Mike Brown last year, he is on the record saying he did not call a lot of plays, not nearly as many plays as he called in 22-23. And with the players that you have on the court, you have got to call set plays. This has to be more of a half court game. And I think the Kings, with the lineup that they have as we sit today, I really do believe that they will be able to rein it in the half court. And Mike Brown, this is his team. So make no doubt about that. Now, Chili Dog, De'Aaron Fox regressed last year. That's a tough one for me. I don't think De'Aaron regressed. I think he took a sidestep. So that's a show in its own. I think De'Aaron's looks were different for many reasons. Now, I think the 3-ball, and while he shot it at a higher clip, he did, what you get from De'Aaron when he's not shooting the 3, although you might only get 2 points, what goes into all of that comes with the 2 points at times, getting to the free throw lines, getting into the bonus early, getting players into foul trouble, being able to set your defense, all of those things, to me and also to Jerry Reynolds, we feel those are more valuable than that extra point that De'Aaron gets from shooting the 3-ball. So in that sense, there's an argument. Now, the one place that I think De'Aaron does need to improve this year is the pick and roll. The question that I asked all season last year, and I've asked to other people that are credentialed that cover this team, is do Fox and Sabonis make each other better? Undoubtedly, to me, Sabonis makes Fox better. But does Fox make Sabonis better? And it's been a mixed bag with the answers. And I think the one way to alleviate that, to not make it a mixed bag, is that pick and roll game. You see how well Malik Monk does it with Domantas Sabonis. De'Aaron Fox is plenty capable of the pick and roll. Can those two come together? Because then if they can, the answer is absolutely yes. 100% yes. Peter, changing the topic. Commissioner Rhino, about 2 hours till game time, and your pick isn't locked for tonight's game. Yeah, I know, Peter. Last night I picked the Bills. I'm going to stick with it. Thanks for reminding me. Let's see. BJ, Greed Chili mostly showed in his body language. I was not a fan. Well, that's a completely different conversation. If you're going to group leadership and on the court into one, we can have that conversation. If I'm strictly talking about De'Aaron's basketball game, which I am right now, then I don't know. But yes, there were concerns. The talking to the refs certainly picked up. There was no doubt about that. The time in which De'Aaron did not speak to the media, that was a problem. So yes, that was a little bit different, but who knows? And that's why I think a fresh deck of cards here. And don't get me wrong, it's only one player in a sense of DeMar DeRozan, but this is a fresh deck of cards for the Kings. You've got a different Malik Monk coming back, in my opinion. So we will see Chili hopping in on the conversation. Kings will have a better and complete offense with the DeMar addition, no doubt. Absolutely no doubt. Will, born a Raider Laker? Born a Raider Laker? How'd you come up with that handle? Raider Laker. I would expect a Raider hater, Raider Laker. Interesting. Welcome in. Thank you. Please hit the thumbs up button. Good job by you. Bingo.
Bingo. Bingo.
Good job, Will. Please hit the thumbs up button. Give us some love. Retweet the show if you're watching on the X. 218 have checked in so far today. Appreciate all you. And don't forget, Grant's going to be back 4 o'clock. We're going to be doing a little bit of a shorter Kings Court today because Grant's going to be on at 4. Join him for open forum and pregame tonight for the Dolphins and the Bills. Who you got in that one? We're going to get to that in a little bit. I do want to put a bow, though, really quick on this Kings conversation, and we can move on in a second. Let's get to a few more of your points. True BJ, he needs better, but we got that one. Jay Crowder coming in for a tryout with the Kings. Orlando Magic signed Jalen Slauson to a 10-day contract. I love that. I love that. I absolutely love that. If I look at the guys in Stockton last year and you take Keon Ellis out of it, I think Mason Jones was probably the most solid all around. If you look at that group that has the ability, not ability, but the group that had the opportunity to possibly get minutes on the main roster, I think Jalen Slauson, although he did not really get run on the main roster, Jalen Slauson, to me, had the most upside out of that crew. And I covered that crew really closely. Mason Jones, again, probably the best all-around player. We've broke down Jalen's game on this show. I've shown you some of the freaky plays during the playoffs when he chased down a guy and pinned it. He ended up fouling him. Freaky play. Jalen will make those plays, but then also the very simple basketball plays, he can be out-muscled. He has a lot of room for growth, but the upside with Jalen's great. It's a good training camp signing for them. He will definitely end up probably somewhere around the NBA, whether it be the G League or the NBA. Will hopping back in, opinion, diehard Raiders and Laker fan. Okay, fair enough. Been a Napier fan for 25 years now. Whatever Grant does, I support. Love that. Love that, Will. Thank you very much. We appreciate the support of the channel. I know Grant, I don't want to speak for him, but can pretty much say he appreciates your support as well. Oh, all right. Let's get to the phones. I told you we will take calls if you would like to call in. Can talk hoops. We can talk Deshaun Watson. We can talk DeMar DeRozan's new book that just came out. We hit that at the top of the show. We bring in our man, Mr. Moss. Mr. Moss, what is going on today, my friend?
Hey, Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
Been a minute. How are you?
I'm not doing. Look, man, I'm drinking out of a King's cup that I bought a game last year. I mean,
love it.
Doing? I mean, I should be drinking it out of my Houston Rockets cup, but it's
well, I hope that it's not. I hope it's not King's Cup content inside of a King's Cup, if you know what I mean.
There's so much Kings gear here at my house. It's ridiculous, man. The family is all Kings fans. I'm the only Rockets fan, and you should see me at the games. They hate me. So it's crazy.
Fair enough. How's your summer been, brother?
Not too bad, man. No complaints here. It's been cool. You know what I'm saying? I think for many of us sports fans, you know, football season starting up, NBA starts out next month.
Yep.
And so for me, it's a favorite time of the year. But you know, a little traveling, you know, here and there, been gone working, you know, everybody's doing well. So on my end, no complaints. I just saw the Jay Crowder thing. If I'm a Kings fan or a Kings front office person, I'm not sure I would even entertain that. I mean, he's past his prime. He's a fake tough guy. And again, just my opinion, he's no longer a 3-and-D guy. I mean, he's going to take away minutes from other people. I can appreciate the veteran presence, but I think you know, that term can be overused in some situations. I appreciate that. I mean, I think there's value on a team from a guy who's a veteran. Yeah. But not Jay Crowder. I'm sorry. He just doesn't do it for me. But again, I'm not a Kings fan. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm more interested on DeMar DeRozan. And I think for me, since he's been here, got here, I've been very curious about the offense right now. Right. I mean, we know Sabonis is the dictator of that offense, meaning everything goes through him for the most part. Right. Right. Off of him. Obviously, Darren does his one-on-one stuff. And with DeMar not being your prototypical stretch guard who can stretch you out from the three-point range, right? Is he going to clutter the floor, right? I mean, is Mike going to stagger his minutes, right? He's going to play with Malik more times than not, but he's going to start. And so I want to see how the spacing is for this team with DeMar there. And so does Sabonis take a step back? Does Darren take a step back? You know, there's going to be that transition stage where it's your turn, my turn. But let's face it. I mean, DeMar's. I mean, come on. I mean, listen. The guy can put the ball in the basket, right? With some absolutely. And so there's going to be a transition period. So to that, you say what?
I understand your concern, but I would counter with this: the burn rate for Sabonis and Fox was unreal last year. I talked about them being 2 of the 3 creators on the roster, true creators. And that's why both of them, Sabonis and Fox, were in the top 20 in turnovers. So to you, I say, I think Sabonis is going to get an opportunity to be down low a little bit more. I think that you're going to see a little bit more of the offense, and this is just strictly my opinion. You're going to see it split depending on the matchups. You know this. The NBA is about matchups, but I think now you have 2 guys in DeMar and Sabonis that can really run that high elbow extended free throw line DHO action if they need to. And DeMar does not need to come in here and hit threes whatsoever. And people saying he needs to work on his 3-point game. No, I don't think so. That's not what you signed him for. But here's the other thing, Mr. Moss. If DeMar's cooking from the mid-range, right? And you look at this team outside of Fox with Sabonis a little bit more methodical, DeMar a little bit more methodical. It almost lines up as a nice change of pace with Fox being that guy, like you said, can go one-on-one. This seems to be lining up more as a half-court team.
Okay, cool.
Offensively.
Yes. I like your point about the DHOs, the dribble handoffs with DeMar. I think he's an underrated passer. I think he's a high IQ player.
100%.
So again, I don't listen. I wouldn't mind at all if they came down past half court and say, "Hey, big fella, 5 ISO flat, here you go. Go to town," right?
Yep.
And so, I mean, that's the style of play I'm used to. That's where I come from, right? The Yao Mings, Hakeem Olajuwons, players like that, the Tim Duncans, right? Play inside out, and then everything is based off of that. So I'm cool with that. And when I say 3-point shooting, I couldn't agree with you more. My contest wasn't that he can't hit the 3-point shot. It was more so just a spacing. That's all, just a spacing, because Keegan Murray, listen, Keegan is going to space you out. I mean, he can make 3-point shots.
Right.
I'm more concerned about where is DeMar standing at on the court when he's on there with Darren and Sabonis. That's all that was. And so
for sure. I get you. I think Sabonis is going to be down low a little bit more. But here's the thing about Sabonis. I talked about it before you came on. He's got to be able to confidently step into a jump shot. But he's also, too, in my opinion, he always makes a great decision for the most part with the ball, but he's got to make quicker decisions this season with the guys that he's playing with. And to your point, if DeMar's cooking and you go 1-4 flat, it gives you a couple of different looks. You can go high-low with DeMar and Sabonis, which the Kings at times, they did high-low last year with Harrison Barnes, and it worked beautifully. I think DeMar can do the same thing. But if you're doubling DeMar at any point during the game, Sabonis is a monster on the board. Somehow during possessions, he finds a way from being the one that is being the distributor, running the DHO, to get down low after that and get the offensive rebounds. You've got to lay off somebody if you're doubling, right? So now Sabonis is going to have more range down there to get offensive rebounds.
Yeah, you do. I want to pick your brain on just on one more quick topic, then I'm on out of here. But just real quick to the Kings' point of view, where do you think Malik Monk fits in all this? Because I think Malik Monk, to me, is another guy off your bench who does a great job with the high pick and roll, the little pocket passes to his bigs or his whatever you want to call it. So I wouldn't mind seeing DeMar with Malik on the court at times, the 2-minute game as well. But before I go, the Phoenix Suns got Tyus Jones. And me and you have talked about in the past, Ryan, about the fourth quarter Wolves that are the Phoenix Suns, right?
Right.
One of the worst fourth quarter offenses in the league, if not the worst last year by the numbers.
Yet they came back on the Kings twice.
Yes. Crazy, right?
Right.
And you would think with Devin, Kevin, and Bradley Beal, like, how is that even possible? Well, easy. I mean, Devin, Kevin, and Bradley, they're not they're not playmakers like that. And their IQ to me, it just isn't there. You go get a Tyus Jones, right? And at one point, he was on Memphis, and we all deemed him, at least I did, he was the best backup point guard in the league, right?
Yeah.
I throw in Richardson from the Celtics and Tyus Jones in that same category now. Maybe TJ McConnell in Indiana as well. But he gives them a guard in the fourth quarter where now you can run Devin and Kevin off pin down screens, flares, and now it takes the ball out of their hands, and it should limit the mistakes. Can you give your thoughts on that real quick, and then I'll take it off here.
Yeah, appreciate it, dude.
Sure.
Look forward to talking to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Mr. Moss.
Yes,
I think you're spot on. Look, when the Suns had Chris Paul It was, and they weren't as good of a team, but they had somebody else distributing other than Devin Booker. You are not using Devin Booker's talents to this maximum if you have him as your distributor. So I think Tyus only helps the Suns. But as a bigger picture with the Suns, I just have a really hard time still buying in on them. It has not really worked up until this point. Kevin Durant looked great in the Olympics, but the Olympics are a different game. And Bradley Beal, how often does he stay on the court? So I don't know. Phoenix has some big decisions to make because we talked at length about the CBA, Mr. Moss. That is a team to pay attention to. Are they going to be buyers or sellers? At this point, unless they are going off, that owner is not going to want to stay in those aprons with an aging Kevin Durant, and then also you're paying Devin Booker, which Devin Booker is the best player there, but Bradley Beal, who's going to take that contract off your hands? So a lot of questions for the Suns, but Tyus Jones, great pickup for them. BJ, what's up, my man?
Hey, what's up, man? Great call before. Somebody had said something about Crowder, and I like that idea. I don't think he's going to take too many minutes, but I like the idea of having a little bit of a roughneck. The caller before had said that he's a fake tough guy, but let's face it, since like 1992, everybody's a fake tough guy in the NBA. We just need somebody out there that's willing to put some hands on someone and not necessarily do anything crazy, but we don't need DeMar. We don't need any of our top 3, top 4 guys playing that role. I think having somebody like that, a little bit of an enforcer, even on the bench and in the locker room, I kind of like that. You know, it's not like, especially if it's not for big money. It's the first time I'm hearing about it, but I'm a fan of that, and I'm a fan of Sabonis being a little bit closer to the rim. I mean, who knows? Yeah. And, hey, you know what? I enjoyed listening and seeing you guys out at the bay or the lake, the bake at the lake.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
The bake at the lake. Yeah. I can't believe Romy. So that was not even a clone thing. That was just friends getting together, and we set out of courtesy. We'd let Jim know that we were all together. And before you know it, it took on a life of its own.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, how do we get in on that? I want to get in on the bake at the lake.
You know what? We will talk offline about that. BJ. So
yes,
this is like a budding controversy in the clone world right now, because there's people, or, you know, for instance, one of the Smack Off champions lives 30 minutes from where we were at.
Uh-oh.
We didn't let him know we were coming because we were just doing a boys trip. It wasn't a clone thing. We didn't want to have a bunch of people at the house. And so we're trying to smooth this over and letting people know that the Rome stuff was organic. That was not planned. But yeah, we'll talk offline for sure.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Really quick though, Jay Crowder, I talked to Jerry Reynolds about it on Tuesday, and you look at Jay Crowder. Yeah, you're not wrong, tough guy. But part of the reason Jerry thinks it didn't work out in Milwaukee is they didn't have the minutes for him. And so he thinks that if you bring in Jay Crowder, you got to have the minutes for him at age 34. And his numbers were declining last year, and he only played, I believe, just over 50 games. So look, they're bringing him in to run open gyms, just as they've done with other groups of guys this summer. And that's what training camp contracts are for. Now, does Jay Crowder accept a training camp contract? Probably not. Probably not. But who knows? Look, this is where the Kings, and I talked about it earlier, BJ, they have the flexibility still. They still have flexibility.
I like that. I like the flexibility, and I like the whole mindset of how we're going into this year. I think it's nothing but I think our ceiling is high, and you know, with DeMar coming on, I think it's going to take a lot of pressure off of Sabonis and especially Fox. Yeah. DeMar can step in in a leadership role in the locker room and on the floor, and you know, taking that pressure off of them is going to articulate into easier points, I believe, and better defense. I think we're underestimating the good team defense that the Kings can play when they put their mind to it consistently.
Well, so that's the big question, because that defense, and Keon Ellis, number one, still here, and we can talk on another show about what we think the starters should be and whatnot, but you lose Davion Mitchell, right?
Yeah.
And now you're without Carter, which I personally believe, I've not heard anything from the team, but he's not being reevaluated until February. So I personally think it's going to be a redshirt year for him. So DeMar, not known as the best one-on-one defender, but I don't think he's a bad team defender, help defender. I think he's always usually in the right spot. So that's the unknown right now, because last year the defense, BJ, carried the Kings to even have a shot at the play-in for the most part. Their net rating tripled the second half of the season, even though the record was what it was.
I agree 100%. And I think if the mindset is a little bit geared towards defense, particularly in the half court sets, I think that's how you get easy points. Everybody wants to score, but I mean, if you look at the Kings roster, scoring doesn't really seem to be the issue. You know what I mean? So I think defense is and you know, the defense, it's excuse me, the offense sells tickets. Everybody wants to see points, but when it comes down to it,
well, not this fan base. This fan base just wants to see hard work.
Exactly.
They want to see a team that cares. They want to see a team that plays hard, that brings it every single night. They don't care how you get it done.
And that's exactly what I'm saying is hard defense will transition into easier points, and it gets the fans going. And we just want to see everybody just leave, just come with your best, leave it on the floor, blue collar. If you lose, you lose, but just don't, stop arguing with the refs, play hard, play through it, run somebody over offensively. You want to get a foul, play some rough type of offense. Bring in the late 80s, early 90s, but I'm old, so I don't know.
I hear you, dude. No, that's my favorite type of basketball. I think my tweet last year, my favorite tweet of the Kings season was the New York Knicks game in Sacramento was a throwback to like 1990s basketball. That was an amazing game. Race to 100.
Every now and then you have to do that. You have to grind it out, and it sends a message. If you're not afraid to give a foul and take a foul, then when people come in or when you go to their home, they're like, we can't just be a paper tiger. We gotta scratch and bite every now and then. I think it goes a long ways. It's a mentality.
No doubt. No doubt. Hey, it's great to hear from you. I appreciate it, BJ.
All right, man. I love you. See you later.
Be well. Love you too, brother. That is BJ checking in. To his point about the leadership, I think things freshen up. You give De'Aaron Fox a different look. And as for the arguing, I don't know if DeMar DeRozan's going to stop that, but I can only think that having a fresh face, somebody with that mindset, we talked about his struggles at the start of the show and why he wrote his book. But if you listen to DeMar and how grounded he is, I go back to that word, grounded and genuine. G&G, grounded and genuine. I can only think that is going to help a player like De'Aaron Fox. Only going to help him. So has De'Aaron Fox other than, that's, you know what? We're going to save that for another day. Indeed. BJ, be careful, says Mark. The hazing to get in is brutal. Not true, Mark. There is no hazing. We do not haze, my man. Maybe not. No, we don't. Johnny, what's up, man? Hey, Ryan, what ex-Kings do you like? Quincy... Johnny, this is your brand, dude. You hit me with these names. Which ex-Kings do you like? Quincy Miller, Maurice Markless, or Lamar Stevens, or Thormaker, Norvell Pell, or honestly, Johnny, I'm having a hard time breaking down games right now, and I got to get out because Grant's going to be here in just under an hour. I'll hit that on the podcast tomorrow morning, Johnny. Promise I will answer that on the King's Court podcast. Patrick, what's up, dude? Welcome. Sorry you're catching the tail end, but guess what? Grant's going to be back in just about an hour. He's going to be back at 4 o'clock. So that is where you're going to get your breakdown of tonight's Thursday night football game between the Bills and the Dolphins. Thank you, Peter. I will go make my pick. I am picking the Bills. Josh Allen has a great record against the Dolphins. It's a night game. They're not playing in that stiff Miami weather this time of year during the day. Also, I like Buffalo's line. I really do. You got Raheem Mostert out for the Dolphins tonight as well. Quick turnaround. Miami has the advantage there, but you've had the Tyreek situation all week as well. Speaking of picks, yes, make sure that you get your picks in if you are a part of our Yahoo. I blew that one, huh? If you're a part of our 2024 Yahoo Fantasy Pro Pick'em League, it's our 3rd annual league. Grant and I put on. Make sure it's not too late. You missed week 1, but you can still catch up if you pick well. Go to Yahoo Fantasy Sports. Use that league ID, password 1011. Any issues, hit me up on my email or my X account at Ryan_in_Sacktown. So get up in there. The winner's going to get a couple of $100 gift cards. So make sure, and you get the run. You get the trash talking for the entire year. Peter's our reigning champion. Sea Dog has won the league as well. Right now, we got 2 tied at the top, one including Corn Dog after week 1. Also, wanted to remind you about Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. In fact, Bennett's, eat well, be well, all 3 locations. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com to learn about those 3 locations. They're great specials. They got an amazing happy hour. Great night to get out for happy hour after you watch Grant's show at 4. Also, don't forget about their weekend brunch. Incredible offerings. They've got a great 2 entree and bottle of champagne special at all 3 locations on the weekend, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, prime rib. Can't forget about Bennett's. Huge thanks to Bennett's for sponsoring today's edition of the King's Court. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. As I said, Grant going to be here in just under an hour, 4 o'clock. Go get a soft drink. I don't know. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Have a cocktail. Come back. Talk some football. Open forum with Grant, 4 o'clock right here on If You Don't Like That. The show. By the way, I'm going to make this announcement now. We are still dealing with some YouTube issues. So you will not see the show come up on YouTube until Grant is live. So if you don't see it scheduled, Grant will still be here at 4. So don't miss out on that. Also, don't forget to subscribe to If You Don't Like That, where we are at right now. It's where we're going to be doing all of our Kings pregame, halftime, postgame shows. Also, Tuesdays, 3 o'clock. Grant and Sean Salisbury. Jerry Reynolds joins me every Tuesday right here on the King's Court on If You Don't Like That. So you want to make sure that you are subscribed to both. You can also get audio of all of Grant's shows at Grant Napier or ifyouDon'tLikeThat.com. All right, we are out of here. Make it a great rest of the day. Enjoy Thursday night football. Get your picks in if you are part of the league, and make sure you're back right here, 4 o'clock, Grant Open Forum and Thursday night football pregame. Hit it, Tadora.
Holy moly, Jimbaboli.
Go Kings, light the beam. Court is dismissed.